Hi guys, so in this review I'm going to be looking at the DALI Opticon range of speakers, but I'm going to be reviewing them in the context of home cinema, okay, because I've done another review about the DALI Opticon 6s, and in that review I focused mainly on stereo music. So this review is just about home cinema. I've got most of the DALI home cinema package. I don't have the subwoofers, I don't have the rears. Okay, for me the main thing is to get the fronts all from the same manufacturer using the same technologies, and I think most people will probably opt to get their own subwoofer or rears as well. Okay, because they're the least kind of important parts of the system. They're, well, not the least important, but that's not true at all actually. They're very important parts of the system, but they're easier to integrate into the system compared to the front three speakers, right? So yeah, like I said, I've got another review. If you want to look at how they cope with stereo music, just go to the other review on the Opticon 6s. So in this test, like I said, movies, we've got movie tests that I've done, and I'm just to sum it up, I've done the Lord of the Rings on Blu-ray, which is lossless audio, the Batman, Dark Knight trilogy, Blu-ray, lossless, Netflix, various titles. I mean, you know, with Netflix you just watch too much, more than what you can actually keep up with, and I've, like I just said, just take me on this one, just trust me on this one. Various titles on Netflix, and basically what I feel about how it performs with Netflix audio. So what is my testing methodology? So first of all, living room is the only place that I can test these speakers. My living room is a medium-sized living room in audio world. It's about 1600 cubic feet in volume. I've tested lossless and I've tested lossy audio files in this test, so we get results from both. For the movie testing, I have tested it on one amplifier, which is the Yamaha Avantage 3070, which I own. Actually, that's a lie, because I have, not a lie, inaccuracy, sorry, I don't lie, right? But I have tested these speakers on another AV receiver, which is the Anthem MRX 710, okay? But the results that I'm speaking about are the Yamaha Avantage 3070, okay? If you want me to kind of tell you about how the Anthem got on with these speakers, just put it in the comments and I'll get back to you. Number 4, speakers have been isolated on plinths where possible, to isolate them from the ground, to ensure that acoustic energy isn't traveling into your room and basically your room coloring the sound, right? As mentioned earlier, the front speakers are DALI speakers. You've got the DALI Opticon 6s for the left and the right, and you have the DALI Opticon center, which I have as the center, okay? I also have the DALI, I think they're called Opticos. These are the Atmos speakers, and they basically can either go on the ceiling, up on the wall, or you can place them on top of the speakers for Atmos effects, but they're not part of the Opticon range. As far as I know, the Opticon's range does not have an Atmos speaker, especially for them. Also, as usual, decent quality copper wiring was used for the left and the right. And when I say decent, I have Van Damme speaker cable. It's not the best, it's not the worst, it's decent, yeah? And the other thing, actually, the center speaker, for some reason I use a different speaker cable than the rest of the system. I think it's because it was chucked in as a bundle ages ago. It's the QED Silver Anniversary speaker cable, and yeah, it was a gift from a sale long time ago, and it's a lot of money, that cable, so I thought I'd use that for the center, as most of the audio is coming through there. Not that it really makes a difference. It doesn't really make a difference, really, does it? Right, so number 1, Lord of the Rings. How did the Opticons get on with Lord of the Rings? First of all, this test disc, for me, I don't know why, maybe it's a funny copy of it, I have no idea. But this test disc is very tricky for speakers, I've heard. There tends to be a lack of focus. If your speaker system isn't set up perfectly, it can be a lack of focus when you're listening to Lord of the Rings on Blu-ray. I've got the, oh God, when did I buy it? I think I bought this Blu-ray back in 2012 or something. Like, it was quite a long time, 2013. And it was like you can't buy it anymore, I don't think. What is it again? It's the extended edition, right? I've found that certain characters in this movie, the voices are quite difficult to ascertain. So like, you have Gandalf and Saruman that have quite deep voices, so like on the lower mids. And I've found that these speakers, they lose a bit of focus with these characters, and I'm struggling to hear what it is that the guy is saying. And sometimes I find myself having to put the speakers on subtitles, and I haven't found out why that is. It could be the amplifier, my Yamaha amplifier. Like I said, I did test these ages ago on the Anthem MRX 710, but I got rid of that amplifier because I wasn't 100% happy with it. There was just something about it, but maybe on that amplifier it might have cleaned up that audio in the lower mids, I'm not sure. But like I said, those two characters are very difficult to make out what they're saying. The surround field though, the surround sound, it's very expansive, and that's to be expected because the DALI Opticon 6s, they just sound like their sound stage in just general, they're amazing. And it's the height. It's like you could trick someone and you could say there's Atmos in this room. Like, personally, I think with a well-recorded track, I think something like the Opticon 6s, you could convince someone that there is actually Atmos in this room. They sound great, right? The next test disc was Batman Dark Knight. I've got the trilogy on Blu-ray, so it's lossless audio. I don't know if it's DTS, Master HD, or if it's Dolby Master, I forgot what it is. Dolby True HD, I'm forgetting which one it is on that disc, but it's lossless. But on this disc, it's clear, okay? So you don't have the same problem like with Lord of the Rings. The speech is clear. I can understand Morgan Freeman's voice, Michael Caine's voice, Christian Bale's voice. It doesn't really matter. Everything is intelligible. So I think personally the Lord of the Rings test is quite a strenuous test. And yeah, I think for the Batman, as long as the Blu-ray is 100% good quality, I think these speakers are going to show off how good they are. Again, wide soundstage, and the DALI makes the effects sound very tall, especially in the third movie with I think it's called the Bat, you know, the Bat that goes around the city, that the plane, yeah. So yeah, I thought that was like really good from these speakers. Now Netflix, again, like I said earlier, various titles, because I've watched so much on Netflix, and what I've found out from Netflix is that it's awful. It's absolutely a pain. I've tried to make Netflix sound good as much as I can, and sometimes it's like I can't even hear there's Dolby Digital effects, even though the title is saying that there's Dolby Digital in this movie. You know, Netflix is so bad, and I think it's something to do with the Dolby Digital Plus file format that they use, the streaming codec. So the DALIs, the center speaker, it suffers. I'm telling you, it suffers incredibly on Netflix. It's loads of material you'll watch and you're struggling to make out what that person is actually saying. And I've found for one of the first times in my life that I'm having to switch everything to subtitles so I can actually read what they're saying. You have to keep that center channel away from the wall. It's quite fussy with placement, right? You know, if there's any standing waves or anything like that, you need to put it away from the wall. And I know this because I have a new speaker system at the moment in my living room. Like, again, same condition, same amplifier, made by a different brand, and these guys, they just focus on the home cinema aspect with these speakers. It's the Teufel THX6 system. I'm going to do a review on that. If you want to see it, subscribe and keep up to date, right? But with the DALIs now going to these new speakers, like, Netflix is still shit. Like, it's still bad, don't get me wrong, it's still bad, but it's a little bit less bad with these new speakers that I've got. Yeah, that's all I can say. So the conclusions that I'm going to make: DALI Opticons in movies. Positive, it makes a huge sound field, yes, especially the height, it sounds very tall. 2, the treble, it's easy to listen to and it still brings the brilliance that you need in movies, so you get like the articulated effects that steer around the room. That's really good. With a good audio signal, they're very clear speakers as well. The other benefit I will say is it's a very simple design. The speakers are very simple. They're not going to upset anyone. Yeah, it won't upset the living space. They're very Scandinavian, you know. It's just kind of like IKEA stuff. It just kind of like put it in there. It's not going to upset anyone. At the same time, it's not the most extravagant looking thing on the planet. Number 5, we have the hybrid tweeter with the wide dispersion principle, and I think it's good for most listening. I'm telling you, it's one of my favorite things about this speaker, if not the favorite thing. You know, I wish more manufacturers did it, to be honest with you. I don't know if, I mean, to be honest, you have to tune that thing to sound good, but I really like it. Now, negatives. So number 1, it could do with being a tad more agile and articulate, just a little bit more. The second thing is the center speaker is a lot of money. I think it's like £400-500. Now, I've always felt like I've been done dirty by manufacturers when they're selling me a center speaker, because like, you could, like, have you seen the size of the DALI Opticon 6s? They're huge, and you buy 2 of them for £1,000. So why is it that one center speaker like that big is half the price of that? It just doesn't add up to me. And yeah, it kind of annoys me, to be honest with you. And you spend all that money, but it doesn't mean that it's going to sound clearer. That's the other thing. Like I said earlier, my new speakers, which actually for movie listening, my new speakers for movie listening sound clearer. They're cheaper. Yeah, clearer and cheaper. Isn't that better? So yeah, center speaker annoys me. Yeah, one downside about the hybrid tweeter, I have to say, even DALI say it in the instruction manual, because of how they've tuned the silk dome and the ribbon together, and because they're tuned to be off like kind of 90 degrees to the listening position. Basically, in a movie environment, you might be sitting in the room with a few people. So not everyone is in the sweet spot, right? Now, if you're to the side, to the far side of the living room, the speakers have a wide dispersion pattern from the waveguide that they use, which is good. But if you're the unlucky person that's sitting like right in front of the speaker, like here is the tweeter, here are you, your ears, they're gonna be like red. You don't, like, seriously, these things, if you sit directly in front of them, this is so treble heavy, it's ridiculous. So very, very harsh. That's the one downside, because in a movie environment, one thing that makes a great speaker is if you can go from seat to seat to seat to seat, and then you have the bass, the mid-range and the treble all in kind of phase together, working in harmony. Because sometimes you feel a little bit guilty that you've taken the best seat and everyone else is getting crap audio. That's why I wouldn't recommend the DALI Opticon 6s or the DALI Opticon range as the best home cinema speakers, because they'll do a good job, but primarily it's for stereo music. And there's a home cinema bundle package that you can buy. So music first, movies last, okay. But if you're a movie fanatic, no. If you're a movie fanatic, you need to get a few principles in check. And I'll talk about that in the next video, okay? With the TOEFLs or when I talk about THX or whatever. One thing you could do to improve, like I said earlier, the tweeters and how harsh they sound, is you could put the grills on. That's one thing you could do. That's all I can say. But for me, it's a bit annoying because when you're listening to music, they sound better with them off, and you got to put the grills on for movies. It's just like, why can't there just be one thing, just one way of setting it up? And for movies, it's the best. For music, it's the best, and everyone's happy, and it's cheap as well. Why can't there be something like that? I'm still looking for something that ticks those boxes, and I'm starting to think that there isn't anything like that. So yeah, what did you think of this review? I hope that I've ticked some boxes for you, or I've made things clearer for you. Give the video a like if I helped you. If you have any questions, put it in the comments. You will be answered. And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see you next time.